And welcome to the newest game show on the Fwoosh Network, Will It Cinch? With your host, Robo! Okay, people, welcome to the show. Everybody settle down. Now, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I have some figures on that are from other lines that may not be 6-inch scale, but I want to see if they fit into the 6-inch scale, because I can always do with more figures on the shelf. But let's go ahead and meet today's contestants. First up, from the Hero Mashers line, even though we can already kind of tell that the aesthetic here is not going to work in the 6-inch line, let's give it up for Zeb from Rebels. I don't know what I'm doing here. Our second contestants hail from the 3 3/4 inch line, and even though it is called Black Series, which makes it kind of confusing to collect these days, let's give it up for the Jawas. And finally, a newer figure that just came out a couple months ago, actually. It came in a 2-pack with a 3 3/4 inch Darth Vader. Let's take a look at the Imperial Probe Droid. And I'd also like to introduce Gus, who's going to tell you what the winner of the game is going to get. The winner of this game wins a coveted, prestigious place on the shelf in the Fortress of Robotude. I'm telling you, it's prime real estate. Snatch it up while you can. Also, while you're at it, tell us who sponsors today's show. Today's show is sponsored by Dorkside Toys. If you're not on the dork side, you're on the wrong side. Oh, you rascally bastard. First category is Sculpt and Aesthetic. Let's take a look at Zeb. Now, given what the Hero Mashers line is, you could probably already tell, yeah, that's not going to fit in. The sculpt is blocky, it's chunky, it's very animated looking, even though the character is based on an animated look. You can also see the plugs on the arms, the legs, the back, and that's also an aspect of Hero Mashers. It has accessories that plug in here, and you can also take parts off other figures, stick it on this figure. It's not meant to be realistic. And really looking at it, it doesn't have Zeb's body shape. He's very top heavy, very arm heavy, but then get down to the legs and he has extra joints, he has a dog leg, big foot. The figure just doesn't come across as that. So I'm gonna say Zeb does not pass in the sculpt category. Looking at the sculpt of the Jawas, very realistic. I mean, it's very, very detailed. You have the pattern of the cloth itself, kind of a crosshatch all over the bodies on both of them. The sculpted pouches look very realistic, very detailed, and it just looks like a body wearing a cloth robe, which is what I was looking for Jawas. And yeah, 2 different colors, but they could have just, pulled from 2 different materials on Tatooine, or stolen, or however they get their cloth robes. As far as sculpt goes, the Jawas, they pretty much nail it. And then for the Probe Droid, I was actually kind of surprised at how detailed this thing is. I'm primarily a 6-inch collector, so I don't look at a lot of the 3 3/4 inch stuff. The gears, the pistons, the tubes, the little knickknacks all over the figure, the eyes, the antenna, it's all there, and I'm kind of digging what I'm seeing. And then the paint, there's not a lot of it, but the scuffs, and then the red lights, the various things, it's all nicely done. The Probe Droid definitely gets a pass in the sculpt category. Next up is Articulation, and taking a look at Zeb, very basic articulation. Now the elbows, the knees, yes, they're ball joints. Yes, they have quite a bit of range. In fact, almost too much range. And the shoulders not being ball joint, it feels kind of like a missed opportunity. That and the ankles definitely hinder the posability of the figure. And that's on top of the joints just being blatantly obvious in your face. Hey, where are the joints? Right freaking there. The Jawas suffer from traffic cone syndrome, so even though they have sculpted and articulated legs under their skirt pieces, you can't really move them around. But the arms have a nice range of movement, both in the elbow and the shoulder, and then the head has a little bit of swivel to it. But because of the sculpt, because of the design from the movie, you're not going to get a lot of range there. And then with the Probe Droid, again, I'm very surprised at how much articulation they packed in here. There is elbows for miles here. Swivels, hinges, the legs will go pretty much anywhere you want them to go, and then even the head swivels on the body. But the first 2 categories are relatively minor compared to the overall premise of the show, and that would be, does it fit on the 6-inch shelf? For Zeb, definitely not. If you look at the reference pictures, he seems to be as tall as, at least when he's hunched down, as tall as Kanan, which puts him over Sabine, it puts him over Hera. So the fact that he is pretty much as tall as Sabine, shorter than Kanan, with no room to stand up straight, yeah, it definitely does not fit in 6-inch scale. The Jawas, yes, there were differing heights in the movie. There were some short ones, there were some tall ones, but for the most part, they're about R2's height. Although if you look at this early scene, it does appear that one of them is super short. The majority of Jawas in the movie are larger than the 3 3/4 inch portray. At least when you're talking about 6-inch scale. I'm taking nothing away from the 3 3/4 inch. But if you want to boost that into your ranks of the 6-inch shelf, the taller one may work. The shorter one, definitely not, unless you're going after a baby Jawa. Utini Coochie Coo, am I right? And then the Probe Droid. This one is the hardest to tell. I mean, there's different reference pictures. If you go by this picture, it's definitely too small to fit on your 6-inch shelf. But there is random other pictures, like this one on the Death Star from Return of the Jedi, apparently. And this is a little bit closer. What I think happens with this side-by-side shot is it's a little bit too close to the ground. So the shortness of the rod makes us think small. If you kind of boost the stand up and put them close together, it looks closer to the reference picture. But if you're wanting action shots, you're gonna have this Probe Droid way in the background or away from whoever you're posing it with. So yes, small, but I don't think I have a problem fitting this on my 6-inch shelf until we get something better. Come on, Bandai. So yeah, I kind of wasted my money on Zeb. I feel like the head could be used for a custom if they never give us one in the Black Series, but beyond that, yeah, he's not going on the shelf. The Jawas, I could probably fudge somewhere. In fact, I do kind of sneak the taller one onto the shelf already, so it may stay, but the smaller one going in the bin. But the winner of the show is definitely the Probe Droid. Articulation, sculpt, yes, a little bit small, but he's going on the shelf. So Gus, would you like to end the show for these fine people? This is old Gus for everyone here at Will It 6-inch saying, keep on reaching for the stars. Unless, of course, it's of the Death Star variety. Then you just run. Good night, everybody.